The State Department today issued a travel warning instructing Americans to use increased caution, as they put it, when traveling to China. That advisory says, quote, Chinese authorities have asserted broad authority to prohibit U.S. citizens from leaving China by using exit bans. Tim Cook, if you're listening, you might want to rethink that little trip to China that you've got planned later this year. He says he's not worried. Maybe he should be. Joining us tonight, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Fox Business national security strategist, host of Salem Radio's America First show, and author of Why We Fight. We recommend all of the above to you highly. Now the man himself, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Great to have you with us. Seb,
Happy New Year, Lou.
Happy New Year, and thank you. Let's start with this travel ban to communist China. Who would have ever thought that people would actually start paying attention to what is happening in human rights in China? All it took was this trade adjustment that the president has recommended strongly to the Chinese to make it happen. Your thoughts?
Lou, as the child of parents who not only suffered under fascism as children, but who lived under the communist dictatorship of the Hungarian Republic during the Cold War and escaped across a minefield to freedom, I've never managed to relate to anybody who does business with a communist country, let alone goes there as a tourist on holiday. All these trips to Cuba, the people who think it's so cool to hang out in China, do they understand that China is a police state and is the most powerful communist country still functioning today? Why does it take the election of Donald Trump for this actually to be news? We're finally waking up to China being a dictatorship. Perhaps Google and Apple should wake up as well.
Well, Google, Apple, and the Global 1000 who are doing business, most of them, in China, who have invested there instead of our own hemisphere, not Central America, not South America, but they have chosen to make communist China the beneficiary of all of the technology that the Chinese have stolen. And let's remember that we've given much of that to them as well and permitted them carte blanche, basically, to decide whatever the trade surplus will be that they will run with, you know, the what would you call the American trade czars? We would call them, I guess, chumps, because we have lost trillions of dollars in economic growth over the years as a result of those trade policies that the president is working overtime to right.
Absolutely. The president understands the threat China poses to us, not just economically, but diplomatically and otherwise and politically. But the sad thing is...
Well, let's not forget militarily. I mean, we just had a Chinese admiral threaten to destroy 2 of our carriers, for crying out loud.
And not just in the classic domain, but now with the news that they've landed a probe, a rover on the dark side of the moon. This isn't just about the security of Asia. This is about a resurgent China in all domains, including space. And the sad truth is, we made it possible in the last 40 years with the opening to China, the most favored nation status, WTO membership. We facilitated the rise of our enemy.
We don't do a thing about their theft of as much as $600 billion in intellectual property and technology they steal from this country every single day. We've had one announcement of a prosecution of espionage on the part of the Chinese. My God, there were 3,500 front companies in this country 15 years ago. God knows how many they are now, and we hardly hear a whisper from the FBI, from the CIA, from our intelligence community about what is transpiring, let alone our Senate, our House, where the Republicans are Democrats. It's outrageous. And if it weren't for this president, we would be in even worse shape.
Yeah, look, the fact that the DOJ, when I was in the White House, we had to declassify a case in which a Chinese agent was caught digging out of the ground corn in the U.S. that we had modified genetically to make it resistant to blight. They're stealing everything. It's not just, space-age technology. It's corn, genetically modified corn that they're stealing and reverse engineering. This is the depth of the penetration. Then there's the Confucius Institutes across America that are peddling anti-American propaganda into the country. This is a serious threat, but you're right. There's one person at least at the top of the chain who gets it, and that's Donald Trump. The trouble is, I'm not sure, Lou, whether Beijing fully understands how serious Donald Trump is as president.
At this point, it is also understandable that they don't yet take him seriously because his own party is refusing to act on his leadership and to carry out his America First agenda. And that is, without question, a great shame of the Republican Party that will last for a very long time. Dr. Sebastian Gorka, thanks for being with us. Enjoy your book, and congratulations on your radio show. I'll see you at break a leg. All right? Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lou. God bless.